We hear the term mental health thrown around all the time, at work, in the news, from our friends. But have you ever stopped to think about what we're actually talking about? It's so much more than just a buzzword. So in the next few minutes, we're going to dig in and break down what mental health truly is, what it isn't, and why getting this definition right, well, it has massive real-world consequences.
So, to get to the bottom of this, we've got to look at how the global experts define not just mental health, but the whole idea of health itself. And honestly, the answer might surprise you.
It all starts right here, with the World Health Organization's classic definition. Now look at that key phrase, not merely the absence of disease. That right there, that totally reframes the entire conversation. Health isn't just about not being sick, it's about a positive state of being.
And that one simple idea completely changes how we should think about mental health. It's not some binary switch, sick versus well. It's way more like a dynamic spectrum, and every single one of us is on it.
So let's break that down a little more. What are the core ideas here? First, mental health isn't some optional extra. It's a fundamental piece of your overall health. Second, again, it's about way more than just dodging a diagnosis. And maybe most importantly, you can't separate your mind from your body. They are deeply, deeply intertwined.
Okay, so let's build on that. To really get what this spectrum is all about, we need to get really precise and pull apart three key terms that get mixed up all the time: mental health, mental well-being, and mental illness.
All right, first up, mental health. The best way to think about this is as your capacity. It's your ability to function, to handle the normal, everyday stresses of life, to be productive, and to feel connected to others. Everyone has mental health, and it can slide up and down, from positive to negative, just like your physical health.
Okay, so if mental health is your capacity, then mental well-being, well, that's more like your internal state. It's that feeling of contentment, of having a purpose, and that resilience that lets you bounce back when things get tough.
And then there's mental illness. And this is a really important distinction. A mental illness is a diagnosable condition. It has specific symptoms, and it significantly affects a person's ability to function over a period of time. It's not just feeling sad or stressed out. It's a persistent condition that causes real significant distress.
In this chart, this shows probably the most crucial point of this entire explainer. It's absolutely possible for someone to have a diagnosed mental illness, like depression or anxiety, but still experience periods of really good mental health and well-being. Think about it this way. Someone with a chronic physical illness, like diabetes, can still be healthy in many other ways, right? It's the same idea. A person can manage their condition and still build resilience, capacity, and contentment in their life. The two are not mutually exclusive.
But of course, this brings up a huge, tricky question, right? I mean, if everybody experiences sadness and stress and grief, where exactly do we draw the line between just normal human suffering and a clinical disorder? And let me tell you, this is a massive ongoing debate.
One of the main ways experts try to figure this out is with a concept called harmful dysfunction. It basically says that for something to be a disorder, it has to meet two criteria. First, it has to be harmful. It has to cause real distress or get in the way of your life. Second, that harm has to come from a dysfunction, some internal mechanism that isn't working the way it's supposed to. And here's the key part. That means our definition of a disorder isn't just a simple medical fact. It's also a judgment call from society about what we consider harmful and what we think normal function is.
And when you try to apply this in real life, man, it gets complicated fast. Just take a look at these examples. Intense grief after losing someone you love is obviously normal, but at what point could it cross the line into a major depressive disorder? Or what about the profound distress of gender dysphoria? Is that inherent to the condition, or is it mostly caused by a society that doesn't accept it? Or when does a love for video games become an actual disorder with a loss of control? There are just no easy answers here.
And look, this isn't just some academic argument. As the psychiatrist Hasse Carlson points out here, this uncertainty isn't some outside criticism. It's a central, unresolved challenge from inside the field of psychiatry itself. Those lines are anything but clear. So you might be thinking, okay, fuzzy lines, I get it. But why does all this definitional stuff matter so much? Well, it matters because how we define these conditions directly impacts how we measure them, how we fund treatments, and who gets care. And when you zoom out to the global scale, you see the stakes are just staggering.
Just look at this number, 1 in 8. That's how many people worldwide were living with a mental disorder back in 2019. That is almost 1 billion people. This isn't some niche issue. It is one of the biggest health challenges facing all of humanity. And the economic hit, it's just as mind-boggling. Just depression and anxiety, two conditions, are estimated to cost the global economy around $1 trillion every single year in lost productivity. That impacts everything: businesses, communities, you name it.
But here's where it gets really tough. Despite this overwhelming need, there's a massive unequal gap in care. For a really severe condition like psychosis, about 70% of people in high-income countries can get some kind of care. But in low-income countries, that number plummets to just 12%. It's a textbook example of what's called the inverse care law. The very people who need help the most are the least likely to get it.
So yeah, the challenge is absolutely enormous. Given the scale of this, the complexity, where do we even begin? What core principles should guide us as we try to build better, fairer systems of care for everyone?
Well, the field of biomedical ethics actually gives us a really solid framework, kind of like 4 ground rules. First, autonomy, respecting a person's right to make their own choices. Second, non-maleficence, the famous pledge to, above all, do no harm. Third, beneficence, which means actively working to help people and promote their welfare. And finally, justice, making sure that care is fair, equitable, and honors the dignity of every single person.
So, what does this all boil down to? When you understand that mental health is this universal spectrum and you see the true scale of the challenge, you realize the goal can't just be about treating illness anymore. It has to be about prevention, about promotion, and about justice. And that leaves us with the real question. It's not just for the experts, it's for all of us. How can we build a society that truly promotes well-being for everyone?